Hello, this week we're talking tokens. Well, what else? My guest is one of the most prolific entrepreneurs working with Bitcoin SV. Jack Liu is a founder, a CEO, a community leader, and an investor, and has a hand in many products and businesses, but is perhaps best known as the creator of the RelayX wallet, which last week released what it describes as Bitcoin's first decentralized exchange. Jack believes in putting new products out rather than talking about them, but sometimes he doesn't mind talking about them. So I'm very pleased to welcome to CoinGeek Conversations, Jack Liu. Hi, Jack.
Hey, Charles. How's it going? Thanks for having me on.
Well, thanks for doing this.
You're listening to CoinGeek Conversations with Charles Miller.
Well, let's start with the decentralized exchange. I am a user of the RelayX wallet, and I see that I can now click on exchange as well as all the other services offered. Just talk me through what it is that I can do when I find myself on the RelayX exchange.
Well, Bitcoin is a very scalable blockchain. And in the last month, there's more and more tokens appearing. And now, for the first time, you can use your wallet to buy and sell tokens that are on the Bitcoin blockchain.
Right. And the first one, in fact, the only one there at the moment, is Joshua Hensley's Sure token. Now, I have actually managed to buy 20 of them for the princely sum of $1.78 or something. But what's the point of that? I mean, it's a bit of fun, but what does it mean?
One of the reasons that we chose that as the first test token was the original name for the Schwa token was called Schwa Test Coin. And it felt very much in the ethos of the coin, where Joshua, the origin story was he was just testing a competing wallet Money Buttons API to mint tokens. And he had minted just 100 of the original Schwa tokens, and they were he was just trying to get people to test it out. So I think just as a sort of a small token of appreciation, people gave him like 25 cents each. And so this is one of the most widely distributed tokens. And so it became just sort of a community thing. And, we thought it was a good token to surface because it had a lot of users already and is running on both the Run network and the Money Button network. And so it's a good way to test out the DEX before we unleash more tokens. And really, you should be able to trade any token you want.
Right, but why would I want to trade a Schwa token? I mean, what's it for?
Well, it's a good way to test different products. So right now, if you wanted to test decentralized exchange, you would have to get some of this.
Right, but that's a sort of internal thing for you guys to deal with, isn't it? I mean, it's of no use to the ordinary consumer.
There's literally a use right now because you had to buy a little bit to do this interview to test out the product.
Right, okay.
And someone had to use it to test out the Money Button send and receive. And then maybe the Schwa token is used on another network. Next week is Volt launching a wallet.
Right, okay, but once all this testing has been done, what's the utility of it?
Testing is never done. I mean, BSV itself is not a token, right? So this is a token, it's the first token, and it's one that's circulating. So for example, there's now 1,000 people with Schwa. So if you were to test something, you have 1,000 potential testers. If you were to issue another token, you don't have 1,000. So if you think about it, Litecoin became a test network for BTC. And sure, one day it may have a value of 0. We don't know. I don't think Joshua Hensley has promised anyone that there's going to be a value with this. But that also makes it a little bit more fun, a little bit more, accessible.
Right, but if you look at the on the Fabric Money Button token exchange, there's like 1,200 tokens.
Sure.
In fact, I've created my own as well amongst them. But
exactly. So what's the use of that?
Well, of no use at all, I don't think. So I'm being slightly facetious here, but looking ahead, what really do you see as the sort of mature functioning of this token economy? What will it be for?
Well, here's the thing. If someone discovered paper for the first time and gave it to you with a pen or a pencil, what would be the first thing you do? You're not going to be writing poetry. You're not going to be drawing an amazing piece of art. You're just going to scribble on the paper, be like, what is this? So you're looking at tokens that are just practice tokens scribbles. People are individually trying out. When you issued your own token, you weren't thinking very seriously about what the token was, right? And you don't plan on probably selling those tokens to make money. So there's no danger of finding a piece of paper and just trying to draw it out and then see what happens, okay? Maybe finding out that the paper burns, so you have to keep it, not dry or something. So with tokens, you have to keep your 12 words and backed up and know what your case tokens are, what the transaction fees are. So I think most people are right now in this testing phase. But paper became something incredibly valuable, something that books are written on. So the same way your tokens can be representing each of those books on your bookshelf right there.
But so is it going to be like, instead of having a very small number of currencies, which currencies is a word that perhaps is a little loose there, but tokens of value in the sense of Bitcoin SV or others, we're going to have just an explosion of different ones, which are all not interchangeable, but exchangeable.
Yeah, I think it's the right word to use is exchangeable and usable, and maybe even like redeemable. And you will have this explosion. Like I said, it'll be as common as paper.
Why is there only one, the Schwa token on your exchange, and 1,200 on the Money Button exchange? You can't create tokens on an exchange, I suppose.
Well, we don't think of it like that. You're going to be able to create anything you want. We just want to test it properly. So there's going to be more tokens on Relay or Run than there are on Money Button, and much more.
Okay. Well, this is a really basic question. When I look down on your exchange, I can see all these offers of different numbers of Schwa tokens for sale. But how does the exchange set the price?
The exchange does not set the price. What you're looking at is not the exchange. What you're looking at is the user interface, where we have pulled from the blockchain that data of the number of Schwas, and we're just presenting you the data on the blockchain. All Relay is a skin on top of the BSV blockchain.
Right. So when I see, here's 20 Schwa for sale for this amount of money, is there a person behind that saying, I think I'll offer my 20 for sale?
That's right. That's another person with another wallet that has signed a transaction to put their Schwa, 20 of them, locked up in a script on the blockchain. And the page you're looking at is reading the blockchain to see that data. And we're displaying it to you.
Right. So that is why you're calling it decentralized.
Right. And another company can make another interface to read the same data and execute. So when you want to buy that 20 Schwa, what you're doing is asking Relay, the wallet, the non-custodial wallet, not asking us actually. You have your own key, right? You have your 12 words to Relay. You are using your key to sign away about $1.75 worth of BSV and sending it through the wallet software to the blockchain, where when it hits the contract that locks up the Schwa, that Schwa, the 20, are released back to you. That's what's going on. We are not holding on to the Schwa or your BSV at any point.
And through the exchange, I can offer my Schwa now for sale, right?
Correct.
But can I also choose the price that I'm offering it for sale?
Correct. You can just go to the sell tab and change the price.
Right. So when I look down the list of Schwa for sale, some of them will be maybe a bit more expensive because they're not selling very many, and then maybe I get a discount if I buy a lot of them, and it's just like a marketplace in that sense.
Yeah, that's right. So basically, the scripting language contracting in Bitcoin is still nascent. It's still very elementary, at least sort of what the tooling are today. And the reason why you have to buy all 20 Schwa, you can't buy 19.57894 Schwa and leave the rest for someone else to buy like you could on a normal centralized exchange, is because, again, all 20 Schwas are locked up by the seller. It's in a contract on the blockchain. The seller has indicated, I need 0.016 or 7 or something BSVs in order to unlock that Schwa. So you must send the exact amount, or if you don't send the exact amount, you don't get the schwa. And the seller is able to also sign something to cancel the order if no one has bought it. So you're allowed to buy, post an order, or cancel an order on this elementary version of the DEX. But we're so excited to do lots of more features that can make the experience much easier. For example, you can maybe pick 3 or 4 orders at the same time and then press buy at once, and then it's broadcasting 4 transactions to unlock 4 contracts. So you don't have to keep on waiting and pressing and buying each of them.
Right. Well, I think I kind of understand what you're saying about the sense in which it's decentralized, in that you haven't got a bunch of people in a room doing these trades or even monitoring them, really. It's just connecting to the blockchain. But Craig Wright has been very scathing about the idea of DEXs. And just last Thursday, he wrote this, which I just see what you think about. There's no such thing as a decentralized exchange. If somebody tells me there is a DEX or a decentralized exchange, they are either a fool or lying. A DEX will not have liquidity. Exchanges exist as you need liquidity to have a market. Well, first of all, let's just tackle the first part. There's no such thing as a decentralized exchange. Do you understand what he means by that?
Well, it's like when you say the sky is blue and you say there's no such thing as blue, you're being very technical to the definition of a color. So when he says decentralized, no such thing as decentralized exchange, what he might mean is that technically the miners can stop mining Bitcoin and then the exchange would break, which means there is a centralized miner who, if they got a court order, could stop mining Bitcoin, and then the contracting, there will be no next block on the blockchain. So then technically, I guess you can find every single miner, and then it's not decentralized, right? Like he's talking about decentralized in like an atomic kind of space physics kind of a sense. That's number one on the blockchain. Number two, where he might be saying it's not decentralized, and it's kind of correct, which is that the same questions you asked of Twitch, right? What if there were illegal content? What if there was bad content on the blockchain? Twitch can choose not to show those content. So Relay, the UI interface, may choose not to show every single coin that's on that blockchain to trade. Just like we have done that, we've only shown one of them. But that exchange on the blockchain might have 1,000 coins right now as we speak. We're just choosing to show for users one of them because we're testing the interface that we're talking about. So maybe he's saying that operators might be framing the entire part, both the front end and the blockchain, as decentralized, and he might be saying that the front end part is not as decentralized as people claim. So I think it's a matter of definitions. I think I know what he's saying, but I think he also is misunderstanding sort of what the cool lingo of the day is, and is taking it too literally, the definition.
And what about his point about liquidity? Have you sort of somehow escaped the problem of exchanges requiring liquidity?
No. So what he's saying is that you read the book Flash Boys by Michael Lewis, and they have high frequency trading, and they could trade like 100,000 times per second or something like this. That's what he means by liquidity. Again, I believe Craig has a very systems, big picture, huge economy kind of looking at the current world. And so when he says exchange, he's not thinking about you and me exchanging a copy of your book. He's thinking about trading like major corporate stocks or oil commodity futures that's trading at that type of frequency. And then so he's thinking for that, those items likely won't trade on the blockchain because you probably can't trade with that frequency trying to deal with miners who are located in different locations around the world. That's when he says you can't be as liquid as a centralized exchange that's trying to trade billions of dollars per second. But what I'm saying is liquidity is different for different assets. Right now, your book that you're trying to sell on Amazon is absolutely illiquid, completely illiquid. But if your book was a token, it could be pretty much better liquidity than you have right now. So for certain assets, the blockchain is going to increase the liquidity. And for certain assets that already have markets, you can see the centralized exchange is already doing a good job. So I hope he watches this video and maybe he can tell me where I'm getting this wrong.
Okay, great. Well, now I want to change gear a little bit, but we'll be coming back to tokens necessarily through this subject, because I want to just mention Haste, which is a business that you have supported, I think.
That's right.
And Haste...
That was our first investment out of Output Capital.
Right. And Haste is, it has a thing called Haste Arcade, and it has something called the ILP, the Instant Leaderboard Payout. And what they're doing is they're creating simple games, and they're using BSV to reward the best person on each game at any particular point by the entry fee of the people who are not as good. And this principle can be applied to all sorts of games. Now, I mean, I've tried the first game is a sort of reaction time game, and I'm one of the people who's contributing to the people who are doing very well at the top of the list.
Me too.
But now they've also issued a token, as well as, just explain to me why they need, because this seems to me like a good concrete example of tokens. Why have they got a token rather than just paying out and paying in with BSV?
Well, tokens help bootstrap a network effect in the same way that maybe doing Facebook ads or Twitter might get you a network effect. But those cost a lot of money, and that requires you to do VC fundraising. Tokens for Haste, they've obviously gotten an incredible amount of early traction with users, maybe a few thousand users who are playing Haste. What they want to do now is they don't have the time of day to code 1,000 games. They've coded 2. They've coded another game recently, I think, called the Stress Test. They can do a few more on their own, but they need to hire more staff. They need to encourage the developer community to build on top of the game SDK that they're going to put out. And they want to reward their early users who kind of play and then find more people to play. Because if you think about it, if I'm a player and I'm a good player, I will actually want more people to play, because then more people are going to lose to me, right? So they want the whole community, kind of that whole network effect, to be promoting the platform that's Haste and be able to benefit from Haste. Like gamers get to earn the token, and developers who make new games on the Haste platform get to earn the tokens. And the tokens are kind of representing, I don't know what they represent, but the tokens are being distributed over the next 4 or 5 years to gamers. And just voluntarily, I think Haste is going to give some percentage of the fees and use that to buy back the tokens.
But isn't that sort of, it's like an ICO then, really, isn't it?
Well, no, because Haste did not raise any money from the public.
Well, okay, but they are in the same sense creating a unit that they hope will have value out of nothing, rather than just using BSV, which already has a value.
Well, when you incorporate a company, you're hoping that company has value, but your company at the time you incorporated had no value. So what do you call that? Is that called creating something out of nothing? Because obviously, if Haste just shuts down tomorrow and no longer plays the games, the coins are going to go to zero, right? So there is something to do with the value that they're creating. They're not just creating nothing.
Right, but so you're saying that they're better off and they will be able to draw more people into their network by having the tokens than simply saying to someone like me, play more, and you might win some BSV, or if you refer people, you might get a payout in BSV. That the token solution is their business idea is that is going to be more profitable for them.
Well, Bitcoin has its own network, right? It has an existing network effect. Haste is trying to build another kind of gaming network. So this token is a better way of attributing value brought over to Haste, the game platform, because the developers, obviously, of Haste or any other company, we don't start with all 21 million Bitcoins, right? So you have a new kind of way to incentivize the gamers and developers. And, we as Output Capital, we just think the reason we invested is just because they have so many transactions. If they had no tokens, we would have invested also. But we thought, I did kind of discuss the idea of tokens, kind of it overplays well with what we're building infrastructure-wise at Relay, the wallet and the DEX, that, just giving them kind of some color about what is emerging and seeing where there are synergies. And it became very obvious that this kind of application or platform is going to get so many users potentially, because it's so easy to use that you can associate transactions on the blockchain with rewards.
Right. Well, now, the other way back into what we were talking about before is that on Haste, you have to go into the system using Handcash, I think.
Right.
And there's been a bit of a debate about tokens outside of the subject of Haste with Handcash, because I think they have said that they are only really in favor of what they call real use tokens. What do you understand by that, and what's your view on that?
I don't know what they're in favor of because they don't have any tokens on Handcash. So until they have released token plans that show that they only have real use tokens, it's not clear to me what their token strategy is. But I certainly hope that Handcash supports Haste and every other token that comes out, because then the two wallets can have interoperability. Like, my goal is to grow Bitcoin. My goal is not just to grow Relay. We think the whole ecosystem can grow together. And Handcash has built an incredible nano payments app. And I think a lot of their users would love to have tokens inside Handcash. It'll be quite strange if there's 1,200 tokens on Money Button, many more than 1,200 on Relay, and a handful of selected tokens by Alex that's called real use tokens. I don't think that is equivalent to me like an internet browser hand selecting a few websites that you should be allowed to go to. I think that's not the right culture. But I'm curious. I think Alex is very open-minded, and the team's very open-minded to learning about tokens and seeing how it progresses. So I'm just saying that maybe their opinions might change in some time down the road.
Yeah, I mean, just stepping back a bit, there seems to be quite a lot of friction between different groups in Bitcoin SV over the question of tokens at the moment. You've just been referring to Handcash, who have a different view. There was a bit of a spat between RelayX Charles and making remarks about Josh Petty of Twitch on his interview with Kurt Wooker last week. I mean, is this all just sort of healthy shaking out of differences, or would you be saying, look, let's all be nice to each other, and that's going to be the best way of moving this forward?
Well, we as a company that's very innovative have been first to release on number of products, a number of standards, a number of protocols, whether that is like being first to release Dimely, first to release USDC Run, first to release a token wallet that works with Run tokens, first to release a decentralized exchange. So clearly we're not getting caught up in this kind of debate.
Yeah, but you're as competitive as anyone. Let's face it.
I am very competitive. And obviously, if I go first, I run the risk of picking the wrong protocol or making the wrong decision. Whereas if you go second or third, you can kind of see what is going on, right? And that comes with risks, right? If we pick the wrong token protocol, then that's a problem. Now, what happens is ultimately you have to build what your users want and what the market wants. So you could have this debate on Twitter of, I don't like this way of doing business or that way of doing business. But if users want your business and you're operating in a legal way, that typically happens. So I think what's driven what Bitcoin has done is that there's two different worldviews on Bitcoin I've referred to in my blog. One view is that Bitcoin is just a stale ledger that does one thing well, which is maybe nano payments. And we should just hide everything else of Bitcoin. Like Handcash users, for example, don't want encryption, don't want all these other services. They just want to, they're that kind of company who wants to use Bitcoin for a certain attribute of Bitcoin. Maybe they respect the other attributes of Bitcoin, but they're not trying to promote Bitcoin as a currency, not trying to promote Bitcoin as a way to buy speculative assets and things like this. They just want to use it for the base native transactions. Some other person wants to say Bitcoin is a great way to store data. So they don't want to know the enterprise to know about the Bitcoin's ability to do other things. I sit from the perspective of I want to maximize what Bitcoin can do. I like to think of myself as Bitcoin's best friend. So as their friend, I want to know what are you capable of. And then in the context of what is legal, I will try and surface, and our team will try and surface the most powerful things that you can do with Bitcoin. And that means that it might offend a major enterprise who want the time of day to have a meeting and have a dinner and talk about potential partnership opportunities. Relay's approach has mostly been, if I'm Bitcoin's friend and I want Bitcoin to be adopted, who is the next man up that might want to use Bitcoin, or women up? So if it's a famous company, great. but I expect the famous company to use Bitcoin and adopt it as fast as a smaller person. Because to me, the snowball can get rolling, and eventually every of the largest company is going to use it anyways. So that's probably where the vision comes from, a difference. I start with my letter of how do we help use Bitcoin to achieve a harmonious world where everyone's living in a proof of work manner. I think about that. I'm not thinking about how do I get $4.99 a month from some enterprise on a contract. That is not what I think about. So then that comes back to our visions, and you see that kind of friction.
Okay, because your view has always been that what's good for BSV is good for everybody in BSV, and that sort of the more people who are making contributions in different areas, that's good for everybody, which is a sort of benign view of the ecology of the system. On the timing, I mean, it does feel with the token debate and all the token activities that are at the moment that we've reached some sort of a point of change. But the sort of revolution that if I'd asked you about it a year ago or 18 months ago, whatever, I think you would have thought that more would have happened by now than actually has happened. Is that fair?
Yeah, because I would have thought that I would be maybe the 1,000 ranked entrepreneur in Bitcoin by now. I would have thought there'd be 999 better companies than me who have understood the power of Bitcoin better than me, who can execute better than our team. That's what I would have thought. When I made those predictions of how fast Bitcoin can grow, I made it with the context of there would be all these talented people, and there are in Bitcoin, but I thought they were going to play the same game. We're going to play the game, and I would try to win, they would try to win, but Bitcoin will win. But one of the reasons why the frustration comes from is not from, we're losing. I think Relay is doing really well. Our team is really happy, really excited. Our users are kind of hoping we do better, of course. We will try. But it's easier to connect the dots looking back. But at each given moment in time, I think we've stood for the right kind of values, in our opinion, just our opinion, for what Bitcoin can do. And that's always about individual empowerment, decreasing friction in the economy, giving people more ability to collaborate with others. That's what we're focusing on. But obviously, if you're working on, an index server or something, you might not think of something so holistically. And I understand that. But I would have thought there'd be a little bit more specialization by now, for sure, in the industry. But don't worry, it's all about to come.
Good. I'm glad you're still as optimistic as ever. Well, now we can't finish this without talking about non-fungible tokens, NFTs, and the sort of incredible activity around that in the last week or so. Well, what's your view of what's been going on at Christie's? And well, let me ask you one thing, a simple question. There's the NBA Top Shots NFTs. You are a big basketball fan. Have you bought any clips?
I have not. I do think that my trading cards I collected as like a 9-10-year-old are now going to be worth a lot of money. I can't wait to go back home and look in the attic or a closet to find the cards and see which ones I have and how much they're worth. So that's been really cool. For me, I'm not big on material things. And just because some material things are worth a lot more money now or represented as a token, it doesn't really make me
But these aren't material things.
Well, there's some they are still something that you don't consume, right? You don't eat it. You can't experience it. It's just something you watch it. But I can watch something on the screen anyways.
Right. Well, I think that's exactly the argument of the NFT skeptic, isn't it?
Yes, but I'm not a skeptic, right? I'm not a skeptic. So a lot of people buy exclusive brands or exclusive releases of sneakers because they want to be different. They want to appear like I'm just saying personally, I'm fascinated by NFTs because it's a good way to learn about something that maybe isn't my strong suit. Certainly at Relay, we're going to make a marketplace and let you do whatever you want to do with NFTs for sure. And I hope to do that. I have a great appreciation for art. I have a great appreciation for the artists in the world. But I guess owning a piece of the work, that's not been kind of my focus.
But if you did like the idea of owning a piece, do you believe that an NFT is a way of owning it, because that's what people are questioning.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely, absolutely. The reason they're questioning it is some of the early usages is just like you questioning Shua in the FT side, the fungible token side, is the blockchain. So number one, because companies like Handcash are not supporting any kind of tokens, but yet maybe have one of the most users, these tokens have not come onto Bitcoin SV very fast. So it's forced Twitch's hand, which began as a social media platform, to then build a wallet in order to support the NFT. So you saw the first NFT as Twitch hats. So then that means that the NFT boom took off on other chains, but these other chains are majorly flawed. So those chains cannot actually hold the image or the video of the clip or whatever on their chain. These NBA Top Shot things and other things are sitting on other blockchains, which again have had incredible amount of growth and usage, but those limitations mean that for someone like yourself or me, we can be like, well, what is the point of having this, because I can just watch the same thing, because they don't have the ability to say, let's encrypt that. I watch that. I know that someone else has watched that. You don't have all these other data. So that stuff needs to mature. I think it's going to happen on Bitcoin SV. And this time, I'm just going to wait and see. I'm not going to predict how fast it'll happen.
I mean, I can see the simplest case to sort of understanding the value of NFT, I think, is, as you say, where the item itself is on the blockchain and I have a unique way of accessing it because I've got the password or whatever, and I can see it, and unless I share the password, nobody else can. So in that sense, I have a kind of ownership of it. But
that's right.
In the other cases, including the Twitch hats, the thing that I get with the NFT seems to me is sort of the equivalent of a piece of paper that says, you know, you own a hat, and then I can wave this, or I might even be able to take it to court. But its connection with the item is no more solid than any other receipt or something that I might get. Is that right?
That's right. And so we like to launch a very clean product. So when we did the decentralized exchange, it's now working on the blockchain. The tokens are actually on the exchange, etc. But with the Twitch hats, and I think you can on one point view these hats the way they are, the way you just stated, or you can say that maybe as the system evolves, you will get a replacement hat. And like, let's say people's understanding of the world evolves or technologies evolve, and they realize what you just said makes some sense. But then at that point, let's say the 100 hats have been speculated to a certain price. It would look a little bit bad to say, well, those were generation 1 hats. Now here are some new hats that are now really got some features on the hat. So there might be some social pressure for the token holders to be reissued a hat or be upgraded on their hat.
And you mean that they would prove their right to the new generation of hat with their sort of ticket, as it were. So it's more like a sort of a membership of a club almost,
Yeah, well, I can't say for Twitch. I'm just saying I've never talked to Twitch about this. But there'll be 3 choices. I'm all about choices and options, right? The 3 choices are either just leave the hat as they are, and the price might go to 0, and that's okay, or it might go up, or you issue a new hat as a new token to a bunch of new buyers. That's okay. You can choose that. Your original buyers might not be happy. Maybe they're okay. Or you give them a bonus for the original holders or the token holders, whoever they are now, and give them a new hat. I think those are your 3 choices.
I'm thinking about socks that I get given at Christmas, for instance. If instead of 3 pairs of socks, I got given an NFT that says, you are the owner of these socks, but you can claim new ones using the same NFT for the rest of your life. That would be something worth having.
Yeah, that would be something worth having. I think, look, here's what's going on with NFTs, right? If you look at the physical matter of the world, there's like buildings outside my window right now. There's, you're wearing clothes, you have bookshelves. there's obviously, I don't know, trillions of physical things. But a few things so far have become NFTs, very few. And so you're seeing that speculative value. Like, why is a normal hat $20, but this Twitch hat $400? Or that doesn't really make sense. At scale, every single matter in this entire world, I think Craig Wright might have even mentioned a grain of sand, could be represented on the blockchain. When that happens, the reason why you might get an NFT for that same socks, even if it didn't have a way to get socks in the future, is an artist might say that they are going to be making socks, and they've never made socks in their life because they've been expert at making jackets. Now are there socks? But Nike doesn't know that this person has any skills at making socks because the person might be living in Ghana, okay? But you do know that, so they issue the socks. So before you even get the socks delivered, you bought the NFT, and then you became her representative and wrote an article about her socks. And that made people want to buy her socks, and then you can sell your NFT to someone else. So it becomes a representative token for the socks. And then perhaps once someone has taken delivery of the socks and the socks have been worn, that token really isn't useful anymore. So that it's not about making that token go higher and higher and higher in price. That seems to be what NFT is about. But it's more about an immutable way to do provenance and track and move and trade an item. And that, I think, could be super powerful for all the items on the planet.
Right. That's 2 or 3 steps ahead of where we are now, obviously.
Yeah, I'm excited about that. Like the economy having that level of efficiency. But I don't think people are going to be, they're just going to be excited to get their new supply of stocks. They're not going to be thinking about flipping them. Only the connoisseur, is that the word, who's super into the sock industry and the trends of men's fashion, that person might be the person who's trading the NFTs around. But the average person will just enjoy the creativity of so many more designers that today don't design socks.
Well, I really hope that somebody from the sock business is watching this, because this could be the future for them.
No, they might be bankrupt. And then the people who are not in the sock business, just individuals, is the future for them.
Jack, we should probably stop, but just give me a little view of the near-term future for RelayX. But what are we going to see in the next 6 months, say?
Okay, well, we want to make the exchange better. We want to make the exchange, the UI for the exchange, work for more tokens. We want to consider, being first means that we have much more chaos, as in there are much more conversations about, is this how things would work? What about the standards? What about this? So we want to make sure we make the right decisions and make sure that these tokens all have proper analytics, have proper ratings, and make the exchange better. Then we also want to make the wallet better for other apps. So, you can trade tokens, but if you really want to use tokens and, inside a game or inside something else, you need to make sure that our wallet API is accessible for third parties so that they can manage the same way Relay One allowed simple apps that use Bitcoin to kind of streamanity use Relay One to log in. I call that Generation 1 wallets. The Generation 2 wallet, which I think Relay is one of the ones at the frontier, we want to make a certain level of polish and allow app developers to use tokens as well. Those are the 2 goals, I guess.
Jack, thank you so much for talking to me. It's been really, really good. Really interesting.
Thanks so much, Charles. Thanks. See you soon.
It's always great to talk to Jack Liu, so thank you very much, Jack. I always feel like I'm getting a privileged glimpse into the future when I talk to Jack. We'll be back next week with another CoinGeek conversation, of course. Until then, from me, Charles Miller, have a great week. Goodbye.
Marketing has evolved from town criers, print ads, billboards, radio, and TV ads. Today, digital banners are littered across the web and social media. reaching every smart device and everything we view. Even with the evolution of marketing technology, the same marketing issues remain. Reaching the wrong audience? Questionable revenue. Attribution? Unreliable data? Vanity metrics. The Bitcoin SV blockchain enables solutions for every marketing challenge. It ensures 100% trust in user identities, accurate tracking of customer behavior while respecting data protection laws, and allows full transparency on ad spend. BSV opens new types of marketing by using microtransactions to personalize advertisements based on a user's blockchain identity. Find out more about the latest marketing tech platforms available on the Bitcoin SV blockchain.